Okay, von Lublin in Krokke is Jacob gefallen in a void, was nimmt euch Passagieren. From Lublin to Krakow, Yaakov traveled in a coach which took passengers. Von Krokke in die Welt ist gegangen zu Fuß. From Krakow in the mountains, he went on foot. Übergetun wie a dressed like a peasant, mit der Sack auf the places, with a sack on his shoulders. Es ist in wenig gelegen ab heut, a Käse, a Talisak, a Sidur, Maschneas, wie euch Schicht, a Kleid, und a Kopke verwandt. So inside the sack was bread, some cheese, a talis bag, a sidur, mishnayis, and also shoes, a dress, and a cap or Wanda. Had alles ausgeplant. He had planned everything before. Is nicht gegangen mit der Schliach, nur auf seitige Stegen. He didn't go on the usual country roads, but on side paths, durch Felder, by fields and by forests. Is a Reus von Krokke noch Setzung und ist gegangen a ganze Nacht. He left Krakow just after sundown, and he walked the entire night. Hat wohl vor euch gesehen, die Sekonis. He well anticipated the dangers. Es haben nicht gefällt in der Welt kein Reis und Gazlonen. They weren't lacking in the mountains wild animals or thieves. Hat gedenkt, wann des Geschichtes wegen die Mares und Waldweiber, es läufen herum in der Nacht und tun schon. He remembered Wanda's history stories about wild women, Waldweiber, I guess that's forest women, who run in the night and do harm. Wie euch wegen sowas a Säune, was säugen das Blut bei Menschen und können sich verstellen bei cats. And also about owls that sucked blood, people's blood, but these owls appeared as cats. Jakob hat gewusst von Lernen und von Hören, was Pagoim, I don't know how to pronounce that word, Pagaim would be in Hebrew, Mikon als begegnen bei Nacht unterwegs. Yaakov knew well from hearing, from learning and from hearing, what kind of misfortunes one could meet by night along the way. The Bas Melech, a Shida von Unreinkeit, hat herabgeführt Wanderer und Weg und sie hereingetrieben in Sumpen und gemäuserter. This is the daughter of the king. That's how I would translate that. a shida, I don't know what that is, of filth,
It's
of
the
dirt.
feminine form of shade, demon.
Ah, a demon. Okay, very good. A demon of filth would lead wanderers off, the way, off the path, and drive them into swamps and marshes. The Lilin haben geläuert in Helen und Lecher in Bemel. The Lilin, I don't know who they are, um, would loiter, would lay in wait in caves and in holes in the trees. Shibta, Egrat, Machalas haben herabgeführt, Mannsleid von der Hayashar, der Hayosha, maybe you would say, der Hayosha,
Yes, derech hayosha.
der Hayosha, und sie mit Tame gewähnt mit Tumas Keri. These three creatures would lead from, they would, no, I'm reading the wrong line,
Would
sorry.
seduce, would
Would
seduce men.
would seduce men until they emitted nocturnal emissions. Tumaskeri. Shavriri Bariri haben umreinigt die Wasserin von Brummeren und Teichen. This demon would defile or make impure the waters of wells and lakes. Zechulufi, Yekunifu, Michiru, Reshlef von Dor HaPlaga haben sie mischt bei Menschen das Loschen, sie getrieben zu Wahnsinn, oder sie go vernarrt zu die Hare Choshek. Okay, these three teachers who were remnants of the Tower of Babel, and that word haplaga is the
Dor
same
haflaga.
root, hafloga, which is used in modern Hebrew for miflagot, for the parties. So Dor hafloga.
Yeah, it's the generation of dispersal, which is why it has that root.
Yeah, they would confuse people in their language and drove them to madness, Wanzig, or to the mountains, the dark mountains. I don't know where they are. Aber Yaakov hat als gestellt in Kon. Yaakov was willing to carry on. He was willing to take the risk, go on. The Bankshaft hat im getrieben wie mit a Beitsch. The longing drove him as with a whip. Wie wohl das, was is gegangen ton, is nicht kein mitzvah. Even though what he was going to do was not a mitzvah nor a zin, but actually a sin, und me soll mishpoten Leut der Kavona und der Pnias, was behalten sich hinter alle seine Veränderungen. If one must judge according to the direction and the motivations that hide under or hide behind all the excuses, hat gesucht Tehillim und gebeten Gott, soll ihn beschirmen. He still recited Psalms and asked God to protect him. When the Kabbalah Sporim, was Yaakov hat gelernt, in sie sind hat sich umgekehrt von Gefangenschaft. In the books of Kabbalah that he had learned since he had been freed from captivity, hat herausgedrungen, als jede Lust zu Leib, it had been revealed to him that all lust for the body, mag sie sein afilu von Zimri ben Sloa to Katsalu, I don't know any of those names, to Kazavi
Kisbi Bastsur. This is right from, I think, from Numbers. This is when, after the Bilam incident, and a Jewish fellow, Zimri ben Salu, had sexual relationships with Cosbi Bastsur, who was a Midianite, and Pinchas ran them both through with a spear.
Oh, ran them both, Pinchas, yes, okay. So afilu, even that joining, hat a shorish in the Olamis Elohim. Even that had a root in the spiritual world. Alt is zivug. Everything is pairing. Torah, Tefillah, Yeda Mitzvah, Yeda Yichud. Everything is pairing. I guess zivug. I mean, you would translate it every pairing, every joining.
Yes.
Every joining, Torah, prayer, every mitzvah, every private meeting. Yaakov hat gehalten in ein Zulchim Hetorim. Yaakov kept on seeking rabbinical justifications. That Bashilmin an Neshama von der Netz von Avodah Zara. So he would, to protect a soul from the web of idol worship, idol worship.
This is referring to Vanda, of course.
Yeah, of course. Wird nicht losen seine Säumen wären ausgemischt mit den Säumen von Esau. He was not going to allow his seed to become mixed with the seed of Esau. Dozeke mitzvah wegen als Ibel. These mitzvahs have more weight than anything else. Die Sommernacht ist a Rebel, und Yaakov hat recht nicht gewusst, wie soll. The summer night passed, and Yaakov was not really sure of how to explain how it had passed. Wenn die Sonne ist aufgegangen, hat sich gefunden in a Wald by a Teich. When the sun rose, he found himself in a forest near a stream. Hat gewaschen de Hemd in de Wellen. He washed his hands in the waves and gesucht Kriyas Shema and said the morning prayer, Kriyas Shema. Hat angetun Talis and Tefillin und gedappelt. He put on his Talis and Tefillin and started davening, praying. Noch hat sich gewaschen zu Seuyedechem, übergebissen mit Bräut, Darnketz, betrunken Wasser von Qual. So after he davened, he washed, raising his hands, that meditation.
Reciting the prayers, Uyadechem.
Yeah, the meditation that you do before you say that the psalm, had a little breakfast with bread. I guess it's thin cheese, dahenkes, and he drank water from the spring. Noch ein Bändchen after the after meal prayer, hat sich angelehnt auf den Sack. After he had said the grace, he stretched himself out on his sack, eingedrängt, and fell asleep. Sich allein vorgekommen wie Jakob Avinu auf den Weg von Beersheba ken Haran. He appeared to himself like Father Jacob when he was on the way from Beersheba to Haran. Hat Jakob Avinu, der nicht lieb gehabt, Rachelin und gearbeitet für ihr 7 Jahre, hadn't Jacob, the father, loved Rachel and worked for her for 7 years? Is sie denn nicht gewähnt, die Tochter von Annette Dinel? Getzendigel. Wasn't she the daughter of an idol worshiper? Noch etliche Schlaf hat Jakob sich von Snai gelost gehen. Lens goes dem Teichel. After a few hours of sleep, Yaakov went alongside this little stream. He went alongside the stream. Ahoy mit the Strom, going up with the current. He's up with the current. Seinen durchgewachsen Schwommen, rote Berla, schwarze Berla. There grew here mushrooms and red berries and blackberries. Hat gekonnt unterscheiden zwischen die Gewächsen, wo seien Sam und jene, was wir meg essen. He was able to distinguish between those plants that were poison and those which one can eat. So, hat nicht gekonnt den Weg. Truthfully, he didn't know the way. Aber hat gehabt seine Simonim. He didn't know the way, but he had his markings, his markings. Die Gazdes haben ausgeschnitten Zeichens in der Korre von Benel. The Gazdes, I don't know what those are, had cut marks in the bark of the tree. Hat gehört von dannen das Beruken von Ki. One heard from the distance the bellowing of the cows, die Räuches von Pfeilen, was Pastuchel sinden auf der Pasche. And you saw the smoke from the fires that the shepherds lit in the pastures. Der Iker is gegangen bald hoy, nicht bald ahop. The point is that he was going up, not down. Bei Nacht, denn die Sonne hat sich schon geneigt zum Merev. By night, when the sun was already going to the west, But Yaakov gegend an alten man. Yaakov had a meeting with an old man. Is ausgewachsen wie von unter der Erde. This is a mysterious creature. It was as though he grew out from under the earth. Had getragen a bruine kapotte. He wore a brown cloak. Filztener Stiefel, felt boots. Gehad weiße Haar und a weiße Bart. He had white hair and a white beard. Had getragen auf dem Achsel a lederne Torbe. He carried on his shoulder a leather backpack, something like that. Had sich angespart auf a krummen Stecken. He was maybe bent over a crooked stick.
No, he supported himself with.
Oh, angespart. Like gespart, like stubborn. Okay, angespart. Auf a krummen Steck. Auf den Hals hat ihm gehangen a Kruzifix und a Rosenkranz. On his throat was hanging a crucifix, and I don't know what a Rosenkranz is.
Maybe a rosary?
A Rosenkranz. Hat sich abgestellt und Yaakov ist geblieben stehen vor ihm. The old man stopped, and Yaakov was standing right in front of him. Jener hat aufgetan. Wo gehst du, mein Sohn? Where are you going, my son? Yaakov hat angerufen dem Namen vom Dorf. Yaakov said the name of the dorf that he was going to. Bist auf den richtigen Weg. You're on the right way. Hat der Socken gesucht und angewiesen Jaakovin, wie soll zu gehen weiter, and showed him the way to go. That's sort of a mysterious little catcher there. Okay, I'll stop there. Thank you.
I just ask, maybe Raphael knows what Augustus. I couldn't find
Yeah,
it.
I don't know what Augustus.
Yeah, I don't know that one either, but let me see if I can find it I usually look these things up in gazda. In Polish is a farmer.
Oh, that makes sense.
So where do you look it up?
I use Google Translate, and I say from Polish to English, and I write in GAZDA, and there it comes. Sometimes I use Russian or Ukrainian, but this is going to be Polish. Yeah, the hard thing is knowing how to spell it.
Right. Okay, thanks.
Right. Okay, I'll continue then. Hat gebencht Yankovin and is weg. The old man blessed Jacob, blessed Yankov, and he departed. Wenn wollte nicht getragen kein Salem, if he had not been carrying a crucifix, a cross, wollte Yankov geklärt as Isaiah Navi. Yankov would have imagined that it's the prophet Elijah. Zurückgeschmust, on the other hand, after der Sar Shalesev, perhaps it is the protecting deity of Esav, the prince of Esav, of Esau. After haben dem Wanderer zugeschickt jene Keuches, was willen, also jed soll sich beheften mit der Goye. Perhaps the wanderers, I'm not sure what that refers to, have sent those spirits, those forces that wish that a Jew should connect himself with a non-Jewish woman.
Sorry, I think it's to the wanderer. The wanderer.
Say that again. Efter haben dem Wanderer. You're right, it's dem Wanderer. Zugeschickt. Yeah, okay, and Yanakarchus is the subject. Thank you. Perhaps those forces had sent to him as he wanders, those spirits who had wished that a Jew should connect himself with a non-Jewish woman. Thank you. Yankov hat gespannt gecher. Yankov strode faster. Stützt, als hat sich der Nenter zum Dorf. Only now, as he approached the village, seinen ihm befallen allerlei Überklärechtse. There occurred to him all sorts of second thoughts. Efsher hat die Wanda schon Chasene gehabt. Perhaps Wanda has already gotten married. Efsher is sie krank. Maybe she is sick. Efsher hat men sich alila der Haraget. Maybe people have murdered her, God forbid. Efsher hat sie lieb bekommen emotionalisch. Maybe she's fallen in love with someone else. Die Sonne scheint gehabt untergegangen. The sun had already set. Und wie wohl es ist gewesen mitten Sommer, and although it was in the middle of summer, is geworden frostig kiel. It became frosty cold. Die Berg haben genommen Räucheren und Flechten, neppeldicke Geflechtertzer. The mountains began to emit steam and to weave foggy weavings. Ergens is geflogen an Odler. Somewhere an eagle was flying. Oder an ander größer Vogel, or some other big bird. Hat nicht gefochet mit die Fliegel. It wasn't waving with its wings. It wasn't beating its wings. Gehangen in der Luft, wie durch Hashem. It was just hanging up there in the sky, as if it had as if through an incantation, as if it had recited an incantation. Shem, literally a name. Die Levande is schon gestanden von früher. The moon had risen earlier. Die Sternen haben sich angezündet, einzig weiß, belichtlich. The stars had kindled themselves one by one, like candles. Von Mal zu Mal hat sich gehört etwas Azoins, wie a Gebrum. From time to time, one could hear something like a humming. Is das der Wind? Is that the wind? Is das a Chaya? Is that a wild animal? Yankov is gewinn gerät, sich zu rangeln mit der verzuckendicke Chaya. Yankov was prepared to fight with a wild animal. Now, how shall I translate verzuckendicke? Devouring, a devouring beast. Aber hat in Gedank zugegeben Recht, der Hashkocha, auf a Bestie, wird ihm auffressen. But he remembered to zugegeben Recht, der Hashkocha. He now Hashkocha is divine protection. So he remembered to give a proper thought, a recht, to the divine providence if a beast should wish to eat him up. Hat nicht etwas Besseres verdient. He deserved nothing better. Yankov hat sich abgestellt. Yankov stopped, sich umgeguckt in alle Seiten, looked around in all directions. Is da allein auf der Welt, wie Adam Orishan. He was all alone in the world, like the first Adam. Wie weit das Eug hat der gerecht, as far as his eye could see, hat man nicht gesehen, kein Zeichen von min Mensch und sein Gewerk. You couldn't see any sign of humanity or that which he does, that which he has built. Die Vögel haben schon geschwiegen. The birds were now quiet. Man hat bloß gehört das Grillzen von Grillen. You could only hear the croaking of crickets, das Plüskenisch von a Teichel, the splashing of a stream. Kiele windlich haben angeblasen von die Berg. Cool breezes were blowing down from the heights. Gebracht mit sich a Heuch von summerdicken Schnee. And they brought with them a breath of summertime snow. Yankov hat tief eingeatmet. Yankov breathed in deeply. Hat der Spirit heimische Reiches. He recognized the smells of home, or the familiar smells. Wie österlich, how strange. Hat gebankt nicht bloß zu wandern. He had yearned not only for Wanda, nor zu dem ganzen Arum, but also to the entire surroundings. Hat mehr nicht gekonnt vertragen die Yusufover Luft. He really couldn't bear any longer the air in his town Yusufov. Die vermachte Fenster, the windows which were shuttered. Das Sitzen ganze Tag eingebeugt über a Sefer, sitting an entire day bent over a holy book, und sich nicht benutzen mit die Hand, and not to use his hands, or mit die Fies, or his feet. Sitzt gewinn Mied von gehen. He was tired of walking, aber der Doseker Vogelweg hat ihm gehat gefrischt. But this particular wandering path had revived him. Der Guf, wie die Neshama, darf mi. Just like the soul, the body also requires effort. Darf tragen, schleppen, gehen, sich der schwitzen. It needs to carry, to drag, to walk, and to get all sweaty. Bräucht Hunger, Durst, Müdigkeit, Last. The body needs hunger and thirst and exhaustion and effort of carrying things. Yankov hat aufgehäuben die Augen in der Heuch. Yankov lifted up his eyes to the heights. Seinen herausgekommen als mehr Sterne. More and more stars were appearing. Sie haben da in die Berg ausgewiesen groß und voll mit Haft. Here in the hills, they appeared big and full of content, Haft, strength. How would you translate that?
Substance, yeah. Substance.
Substance, yeah, that's good. Coherence or substance, right? Mamisch über sein Kopf haben sich getragen die Herrschaften von Himmel. In actuality, over his head, there was the kingdom of heaven, die Lichter von Olam HaAsiya, the lights of the world of creation. That's one of the four worlds, Olam HaAsiya, in the mystic understanding. Jeder mit sein Gang, each one with its own path, mit seiner Gemarken, mit sein Schlichus, each one with its now Schlichus is its embassy with its
control.
Yeah, but what is Gemark? Gemark is region. Everyone with its own regions and with what it has been sent to do, Shlichus. Yankov hat genommen trachten, machshavas. Jacob began to think of thoughts, was hat noch gedenkt von die Englische Zeiten, which he remembers from when he was a child. Was wollt gewinn, wenn hat Fliegel und fliegt so, geseder aruf, yorein, yoreis. How would it be if he had wings and he would be flying like this, continually up and up, year after year? Wollte der fliegen zur Rand? Would he fly up to some sort of barrier? Aber wie soll kann der ledige Cholol haben Rand? But how could it be that this empty space has a border? Was is there noch? What comes after it? Heißt es, as es kein Sof nicht da, auf zu Gashmias? Does that mean that there's actually no end to the physical world? No. Und wie bald der Cholol hat nicht kein Sof. And, well, since the space has no end, in Mizrach and kein Sof in Ma'ariv, neither in the east nor the west, heißt es doch, that means, of course, as is tupled on a Sof, that it's doubly infinite. Nu. Und was ist mit Zeit? And then what's the story about time? Wer soll kon Emetz meg sein Gott, sein von allemal on? How could it be that someone, even if that one is God, be from everlasting and onward? Wer soll is gemalt? How can it be imagined? Wie soll is gemalt an Epis, was hat keinmal nicht gehabt kein Anheb? How can one imagine a thing, a something, that has never had any beginning? Und von wann hat sich das alles genommen? So where did it all come from? Yankov hat sich abgeschockelt. Yankov abgeschockelt. He finished swaying. I don't know. Nein, mit Torah seine Gedanken nicht wach. No, you're not supposed to think about such things.
Yeah.
Davon is Eintritt zu Leikanon and Mishigas. From that, it's only one step to denial and to craziness, madness. That way lies madness.
Yeah.
Hat genommen Spannen mit Banaite Keuches. He continued to stride with renewed strength. Wie österlich says zu sein, a klein Menschele. How strange it is to be a small little person, herumgeringelt von alle Seiten, surrounded on all sides mit Ewigkeit, with eternity, mit unzollige Keuches, with countless powers, thank you, mit Malachim, Seraphim, Kruvim, Gilgolim, with angels, with seraphs, with cherubs, with Gilgolim, with reincarnations, Mitzviris, with the emanations of God, Ilamas, with the four worlds, Sidus, with secrets, and dabei zu lusten zu etwas abosser vadam, and still at the same time to yearn for something which is human, which is just a flesh and blood. Die dosige Kleinkeit is nicht kein kleinerer Chidish, wie die göttliche Greiskeit. This smallness is not a less wonder than godly enormousness.
Enormity, excuse me, enormity.
Enormity, thank you. I like enormousness.
Enormousness. Yeah, if we were 6 years old, we'd say, yeah.
Yeah, well, when I'm translating Yiddish, all the English falls away. Ist gegangen als weiter. So he kept walking further. Hat sich abgestellt, he stopped, sich quickt mit der Stickel Käse, and he refreshed himself with a little bit of cheese. Wird sie noch eintreffen? Will he meet up with her even today? Oder wird müssen warten auf ihre bis morgen? Or will he have to wait for her until tomorrow? Hat Meure gehabt, war die Peuren. He was afraid of the peasants, war die Hint, and afraid of the dogs. A Knekht was kehrt sich zur Knechtschaft. A slave who is returning to slavery. A Yid was geht zurück zum Joch von Mitzrayim. A Jew who is returning to the yoke of Egypt. Hat von Snai genommen murmeln a Tefillah. And once again, he began to mutter a prayer. That. Moshe.
Gosh, I just wanted to remark, he seems to be asking 20th, 21st century questions in 1700. Anyway, whatever.
Well, I think those questions are eternal. You know, they've been asked. We are asking. They will be asked. You know, it's eternal. Those questions are eternal. I'm amazed that the readers of the Forvits would have been captured by this, but maybe the readers of the Forvits at that point were of a very high level.
Anyway, Jakob ist angekommen in Dorfverein inmitten der Nacht. Jakob arrived in the village in the middle of the night. Is gegangen durch die Felder und Lonkes. He went through the fields and the meadows, hinter die Häuser, behind the houses. Die Lavona hat mehr nicht gescheint. The moon was no longer shining, aber sie ist nicht gewesen finster, but it wasn't dark. Jakob hat gekonnt jede Chatte. Jakob recognized every hovel, jeden Speichler, every granary that he passed. Hat jedes Mal aufgehoben den Blick zu dem Berg, wo hat verbracht 5 Sommer. And each time he lifted up his gaze to the hill where he had spent 5 years, 5 summers, sorry. She's alt gewesen wie a Holm. It was all like a dream, wie a nace, like a miracle, wie a kishuf, like something magical. Hat jetzt Neure gehabt, die Hinsel nicht alle onheim bilden mit einmal. He was not frightened that the dog shouldn't start barking all at once. Aber danken Gott, but thank God, die Hinseinen gepoffen, the dogs were snoring. Hat die is früher gewesen mit. Previously he was tired, aber jetzt seien ihm die Füße wieder geworden, Maschuna gering, but now his feet became strangely light again. Is nicht gegangen, nor gehippert wie ein Wind. Okay, this is where I had a problem. He wasn't just walking, but he was hopping. I wasn't sure if this was an Indic or an Ind. I looked up Ind and it said wave, although for me, wave is always chvalia. But
no, this is like a doe or like a deer.
Like a deer. Okay. So the translation of Ind is deer?
Yeah, sometimes it's hind, but here it's ind, but it's the same word. A doe.
Okay. Hat gehad gegessen wenig, hat sich herausgelost unterwegs. He had eaten very little since he had gone out on the road. Und das Ingeweid is him leicht, and the intestines were empty, I think, not light. Weg zu Jan Jiks Huis, what is geführt par Garop. The road to Jiks house now led downhill. When Jakob is gelaufen via an Ingel, via Ingel or via an Ingel. Anyway, he ran downhill like a little boy. Alle Verlangen seinen geworden ein Verlangen. All his desires now became one desire. Treffen wandern, to meet wander. Is he in Stube? Is she at home? Is he in Shire? Is she in the barn? Efter amol, is he beim Bruder? By Antecken. Perhaps he's with her brother Antek. Is gelaufen und allein nicht geglaubt, als hat opgetan, was hat opgetan. He was running and didn't believe that he had achieved what he had in fact achieved. Das Leben seins ist geworden wie eine Geschichte in einem Meisterbuch. His life now became like the story in a storybook.
And of course, it is a story in a storybook, but okay.
Man hat ihm genommen, gefangen. They took him captured. Man hat verlendet seine Sprache. They destroyed they annihilated his family. Was zich verkleidet via fire. He had disguised himself, or dressed himself as a peasant when his Wegsuchung sein Geliebte, and was on his way to seek his beloved. Die Schwester seine pflegen sich erzählen als seine Bauermeisters und singen Ritterlieder. His sisters used to tell such granny stories, fairy tales, and sing nightly songs. Wenn der Tata Allah Shalom is nicht gewesen in der Heim, when the father, may he rest in peace, was not at home. Der Tata hat nicht gelost, der Mädel soll singen. Oh, okay. Father did not allow a girl to sing, while Colby Shah Arfan,
Erva.
is a shunned, because the voice of Erva, a disgrace, because the voice of a woman is a disgrace. And I suppose that is why they still don't have women in a choir in an Orthodox shul.
Right, but usually within a family, there's no problem. It's just that when there's a non-family male present, then the girls don't sing. So this is kind of strange.
Okay.
He was very, very strict. And of course, the Bubamais were the tales of, King Arthur. They were the Reacher. They were the originally, when they were written, they were the stories of knights.
Well, the original Bova Maisa is Antonia of Bovo, yes.
Right. And they were the stories of knights. So a little working it together here, the Bova Maisas.
Waffle Maisas, sorry.
Well, it's used today, or you would hear it like a grandmother's tale or an old wives' tale. But they were stories that were written in Yiddish about knights, and they were written in Yiddish. And they were written, they got the name Bova, and that became Bova Maisa. But here he is playing with both of those.
Jakob ist noch gelaufen ein bisschen und geblieben stehen auf Ariane Briggs Chata.
Entschuldigt mir, I can't hear you.
Okay, I'll try better. Okay, Jakob ist noch gelaufen ein bisschen und geblieben stehen auf Ariane Briggs Chata. Can you hear me now?
Besser.
Yes.
Okay. Jacob ran a little bit further and remained standing in front of Jan Briggs hovel. Nu, das ist es. So now, this is what it is. Zitternich hat ihm angenommen, trembling overcame him, und hat angehalten dem Atem, and he held his breath. Hat alles gesehen, klar, he saw everything clearly. Das Streudeckel, the straw roof.
It's like the hayloft, maybe. No, it's a straw roof. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
A Dachdeckel. Okay. Das Fenster, the window, dem Shire, the granary, or the barn, viele das grobe Plätzel, was Jakob fleckt, the Räuf hacken holz, and even the thick, the heavy wooden block on which Jakob used to chop wood. In Mittenhevel is gestanden die Bude von dem Hund. In the middle of the little courtyard was the doghouse. Aber sie hat ausgeguckt ledig, but it appeared empty. Reach, was hat schon gehabt, vergessen. A smell that he had already forgotten, hat ihm a Schlag getan in der Nose, assaulted his nose. Hat sich genentert auf die Spitzenfinger zum Shire. He approached the barn on tiptoe. Hat gemusst vermeiden, Wanda soll nicht ausschreien. He had to avoid Wanda falling out, aufwecken die Stublight, waking up the householders. Aber wie how was he to do this? Hat sich vermont, als und Wanda haben gehabt, amol Simon. He reminded himself that he and Wanda used to have a sign, a way of communicating. Eider sie rein zu ihm in Shire before she would come into the barn to him, hat sie getan zwei hechere Klepp und ein still Kleppel. She would do two louder knocks and a quiet knock. Sie ist gewesen in der Zeit, wenn Jakob hat sich bericht, als Antep oder Stefan können anfallen auf ihm. This was the time when Jacob was anticipating that Antep or Stefan could attack him. Hat jetzt angeklappt, Leute, dem abgeschmussten Zeichen. He now knocked according to the agreed on sign. Aber keiner hat nicht geantwortet. No one answered. Erst hat vernommen, auf was für gefährlichen Weg hat sich gelost. Only now did he appreciate on what a dangerous road he had let himself on. Wenn man him door, if they should catch him there, what men gemeint as is a ganef, they would assume that he was a thief. Die Peurim wollten ihm gleich zurecht gemacht. They would have done him in right away. Now zurechtmachen can be to kill, but I think it can also to beat him up. I open suggestions.
Yeah, to fix him. But yeah, you're right. It can mean beat him to death or just beat him.
Beat him. Okay. Nu und wo wird gehen mit Wandern, ob wird sie gefunden? So, and where will you go with Wanda if he should find her? Stellt ein das Leben nicht einmal, nur sag mal, he's risking his life not once, but many times. Bei die Goyim kommt zu verbringen auf dem Scheiter, Vermageier seiner christlicher Tochter. Oh, bei die Goyim kommt zu verbrennen auf dem Scheiter, not sorry. Bei die Goyim kommt zu verbrennen auf dem Scheiter, Vermageier seiner christlicher Tochter. The Gentiles will burn at the stake someone who is converting a Christian woman. Die Juden wollen sie keinmal nicht aufnehmen, wie Amerika, and not only that, but the Jews will never take her on as one of theirs. Es ist noch nicht zu spät zu antrinnen. It's not too late to run away. What Paul in Jakob gesagt, a voice said to Jakob, wirst verlieren alle Welten, you'll lose all the worlds. Is gewesen full mit Vaternisch. He was full of anxiety, quivering. Wohin hat mich die Treiber verschleppt? Where has the desire lust led me astray? Hat sich gefragt, he asked himself. Hat von deswegen Stillerheit aufgespart die Tür von Shire. Nevertheless, he quietly pushed open the door of the barn. Nu bin mir nicht bei mir in der Schuld. Now I'm no longer in control. I no longer own myself. Hat sich wie verantwortlich, he justified himself. Jakob hat Herd an Ottoman und gewusst, was kommt von Wandern. Jakob heard breathing and he knew it came from Wanda. Hat sich der Nenter zu ihr. He approached her, great hier zu verstellen, das mal ready to muffle her mouth, noch eider sie wird verbeißen zu schreien before she manages to cry, to shout. Hat zugeschleicht zu dem Winkel, hey, wo sie ist gestorben. He kind of came, slithered to to the bundle of straw where she was sleeping. Die Augenseine haben sich genommen zugewöhnen. His eyes were getting used to their finsternis, to the darkness, and er sehen durch der knapper Schein, and he saw through the very meager light was his herein durch die Spalten that came through the cracks in the vent in the walls, in Dach, in the vent und die Dach, as he licked halbnackt, and he saw through the cracks in the walls and in the roof that she is lying half naked. Mit entblößtem Brüsten with naked breasts, revealed breasts. Hat wie verspürt die Hitze, was hat geströmt von ihr Leben. He felt the heat that came off her body. Hat niedergelegt dem Sack. He put on his bag in die nicht ausgeschlafene Gehirn. Hat sich ihm geplantet die Meise von der Ruth und Boaz. In his brain, which hadn't had a good sleep, there wandered the story of Ruth, not wandered, but in a lost way, the story of Ruth and Boaz.
That's appropriate for now, just before Shvius.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah?
Sires gewen wach und sei so sich ihm geholfen. He was both awake and and it was as if a dream. Hat as sollt getan. He said, Wanda hat aufgehört atmen. Wanda stopped breathing. Wanda schrei nicht. Wanda don't shout. Das bin ich, Jakob. This is me, Jakob. Und mehr hat nicht gekonnt herausbringen. He couldn't say anymore. Wanda hat getan als ifs. Wanda sighed, wer ist das, who is that? Schrei nicht, don't shout. Das bin ich, Jakob. That is me, Jakob.
Okay. Danken Gott. Sie hat nicht geschrien. Thank God she did not call out. Hat verspürt, ihr zu verstellen das Mäuel. He didn't have to keep her, to cover her mouth. Sie hat, weiß das, noch nicht benommen, was da tut sich. But it appears that she didn't yet comprehend what was happening. Sie hat sich aufgesetzt auf ein Steiger, wie ein schwer Kranke setzt sich einmal auf. She sat up in the fashion that someone who is quite ill might sit up. Einmal auf in Sama mitten einer Hitzschlafkeit, right in the middle of a fever illness. Wer bist du? Hat sie geflüstert. Who are you? She whispered. Ich, Yankov. Ich bin gekommen nach dir. It's I, Yankov. I've come for you. Schrei nicht, weil. Don't call out, because in der Rege hat sie herausgelost a Geschrei. And at that moment, she did let out a scream. As a Yommerlichen, as Yankov is aufgesprungen, wailing in such a way that Yankov jumped back. Hat nicht gewusst, was zu tun. Had no idea what to do. Hat mistoma gehört in der Chate. Most likely they've heard this in the hovel. Wird ihm bald chappen. They're gonna grab him soon. Hat sich zu ihrer Wurf getan. He
threw himself at her.
At her, right. Exactly. Und geprüft, verschlissen das Maul. And he tried to close her, to lock up her mouth. Hat sich gerangelt mit ihr. He struggled with her in der Finster, in the dark. Sie hat sich getan hastig a Stelluf. Quickly, she got up und sich an ihm angeklammert. And she grabbed fast to him. Hat geguckt zu der Tür. He looked at the door. Poerim kommen nicht an, zu laufen. To see whether the peasants were not arriving at a run. Aber keiner ist derweil nicht angelaufen. But meanwhile, no one came up. No one ran up. Hat schwer geatmet und gerät. He breathed heavily and he said, sei still, be quiet. Met mich der Hagenen. Don't murder me. Ich bin gekommen zu dir. I've come for you. Ich hab dich lieb. I'm in love with you. Ich hab dich nicht gekonnt vergessen. I just couldn't forget you. Sie hat geprüft, abstupen sein Hand von ihr Maul. She tried to push his hand away from her mouth. Hat sie mit der anderen gezogen nach sich. With his other hand, he pulled her to himself. Allein nicht wissendig, was tut. Not realizing himself what he was doing. Hat nicht getort bleiben da mit ihr in der Paske. He was not supposed to stay with her in this Paske, in this mousetrap, in this trap. Hat geschwitzt und gepreicht. He was sweating and wheezing. Das Herz hat ihm gesetzt. His heart was beating. Hat gepreppelt. He muttered. Müssen gleich weg. We have to go. Quickly. Wie lang ist Nacht? As long as it is night. Sie hat aufgehört mit ihm sich rangeln. She stopped fighting him. Und genommen zittern, and she began to tremble. Sie hat sich zugedrückt zu ihm. She clung to him und gepeukt mit die Zähnen. And her teeth were clattering, wie Winter in a frost, as if it were a winter frost. Der Körper ihrer hat sich geworfen wie ein Kadoches. Her body was shaking, as if in a fever. Hat gehört, wie sie sagt. He heard how she said, Bist du das, Afenemes? Is it really you? Ja, ich komm mit mir. Ja, ich. Komm mit mir. Yeah, it's me. Come with me. Yankov. Keiner hat upon him nicht gehabt vernommen ihre Geschrei. Apparently, no one had heard her scream. Das ist keiner nicht angelaufen, because no one ran up. Oder öfter haben die Poerim geläuert in Reißen. But maybe the peasants were standing in wait in the outside. Hat sich an etwas angestoßen. He thought of something. Es ist gewesen sein eigener Sack. It was his own sack, his own, what he had brought with him, a sack. Es ist ihm erst jetzt aufgefallen, als sie hat nicht kein größeren Bauch. It suddenly appeared to him, it now appeared to him that she doesn't have a large belly, hat sie gesehen in Holland, as he had seen her in his dream. Der Holland hat ihm gehabt ob die Nacht. His dream had fooled him. Sie hat gehabt sich angehangen an seine Achseln. She had hung on his shoulders. Sie hat nicht geweint. She was not crying, nor gewimmert, wie krank beschäftigt ist. But she was, now how you can translate gewimmert here?
Like perhaps whimpering or
Yeah, whimpered. Yeah.
Whimpered.
Yeah, she wasn't actually crying, but she was whimpering. Good. Like a sick soul, a sick creature. Sie hat nicht aufgehört über Chazre. She kept on repeating, Yankov, Yankov. Und hat davon benommen, wie groß es gewesen ihre Bänkschaft. And from that, he recognized how enormous was her yearning for him. Had aber nicht getort verlieren kein Minute. But he shouldn't lose a single minute. Hat sie gewarnt, noch einmal und wieder einmal. He warned her once again and once again. Sie soll auf sich nehmen die Kleider. She should put on the clothes und weg mit ihm and run off with him. Hat sie angetan bei die Handgelenken. Angenommen by the Handgelenken. He took her by her wrists, zugedrückt mit Koyach. He pulled her with strength. Danach sie abgestupt auf hinterweilig. But then he pushed her away, backwards, mit abgehackte Wörter, sie übergebeten, and with measured words, he made up with her. He asked for forgiveness. Zugeeilt, he hastened. Sie geminter, and gave her courage. Sie soll kommen zu sich, that she should come back to her senses, und nicht ablegen, and not delay. Weil jeder Rege is a Gefahr, because every instant is a danger. Sie hat sich angehangen bei ihm auf den Nacken. She had been hanging on his neck und gebeugen sein Kopf zu ihren, and was bending his head to hers. In ein Rege is ihm das Ponem geworden heiß und nass. In one instant, his face became hot and wet. Sie hat ihm wie gewaschen mit ihrer Tränen. It's as if she was washing him with her tears. Sie hat gemurmelt Wörter, was hat in sein Badrängenisch nicht verstanden. She was murmuring words which in his Badrängenisch he did not understand. Now, how are you going to translate Badrängenisch? Oppression, anxiety. In his anxiety, he didn't understand. Herausgelost, ochzenischen, she let out sighs, wie nicht von menschlicher Kerl, that didn't that were not like from a human throat. A pachad hat ihm genommen. A fear grabbed him. Is he Chalila Arab von Sinnen? Is she, God forbid, gone crazy? Hat Ruf getan mit Warnisch. He called out with a warning. Du musst gehen mit mir. You've got to come with me. A regele, just a minute. Und sie ist heraus von Scheich. She went out of the barn. Hat gesehen sie laufen zu der Chate. He saw how she was running to the cottage. Is sie weg ansagen der Mutter, als ist zurückgekommen? Has she gone off to tell her mother that he's returned? Hat aufgehäuben dem Sack und ist heraus und draußen. He lifted his sack and he went outside. Kreuz drinnen, ready to run off. Aber soll wären nachher Mittag, if there should be a commotion. Is auf a while reingefallen in Suffolk. For a little, he had fallen into doubt. Zu diejenige, was hat übergeweckt, is wahrhaftig Wanda. If that woman whom he had awakened was actually Wanda. Sie hat ihm ausgewiesen kleiner. She appeared to him smaller in looks, in size, und äußerlich gering, and very strangely light, wie nicht erwachsene, like someone who is not yet an adult. Sie hat ihm der Mund an a krank Kindle. She reminded him of a sick dog. In draußen hat it's geherrscht jene Finsternis, Stillkeit. Outside, there was still ruling that darkness and silence, was es auf der Grenze zwischen Tag und Nacht, that happens at the border between day and night. Alles hat still geschwiegen. Everything was silent. In der Wartung, in anticipation. Der Himmel, die Erde, die Berg, heaven, earth, the hills. Wie wohl Yankov is given aufgerudert. und erschrocken von dem, although he, Yankov, was upset and afraid von dem, was hat opgetan, of that which he had managed to do, oder was is ihm zur Hand gekommen, or that which had come into his hands, is euch in ihm gesessen a stillschweigenisch. Still, there was resting upon him a complete silence. Der Moich hat wie geglivert in Schädel. His brain was, as it were, frozen in its sheath. Und es ist ihm ergens du gewinn als eins, mit was das als wird sich auslösen. And it appeared to him wherever, somewhere, that it made no difference. Anything which might turn up, which would actually happen. Der Geurel seiner is schon gechasmet. His fate is already sealed. Is gehat wie a Rieber auf jener Seite Prira. It was as if he was on the other side of free will. Sitzt gewesen ja Yankov und nicht Yankov. Now he was both actually Yankov and not Yankov. A Pintele tief in ihm hat sich wie zugeguckt zu dem ganzen Getuchts. A little spark, a little point, deep within him, was looking on at the entire the entire Getuchts, all he had done, und sich gewundert, and was wondering, wie af die Meisim von a Fremden, as it might look at the deeds of someone else. Yankov hat lang gewahrt. Yankov was waiting for a long time. Und Wanda hat sich nicht gewissen, and Wanda did not reappear. Will sie nicht gehen mit him? Maybe she doesn't want to go with him. Hinter die Berg ist schon eine Wade gehat aufgegangen die Sonne. Behind the hills, certainly the sun has risen. Ist gestanden eingehielt in Finsternis. The sun was standing surrounded with darkness, but in fartogischer Kälte, and in the cold before the day. Mit amol is Wanda rausgekommen von der Chate. Suddenly Wanda came out of the cottage, in Shich, in a koptichel, wearing shoes, wearing a head covering, mit a Sack auf die places, with a sack on her shoulders. Hat fregetan. He asked her, hast aufgeweckt die Familie? Did you awaken your family? Und sie hat geantwortet, and she answered, sie puffen, wie geharget. They're snoring as if they'd been butchered. Komm gich, let's go.